to go for the negative or for the positive. You can decide that you're going to win. If you decide that you're going to win, then you can't quit.
Right.
You can't quit. You have to stand on that you're going to win. And trust me, if you're doing the work to win, you will win.
Welcome to another episode of the Lady Trucking CEO podcast. Today, I have another amazing guest. I'm so excited to introduce to you Miss Karwanna D. How are you today?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. So good to see you. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am Karwanna D. I'm a government contract strategist, and I help women and minority business owners grow their business with government contracts so they can have consistent, sustainable income. And over the past 5 years, I've helped over 200 small business owners actually generate upwards of $3 million and growing in revenue just in government contracts alone. So I'm excited to share, my knowledge and my expertise about this industry and how it can help you, really grow your business.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much. So how did you get started in government contracting?
Yeah, no, great question. So I actually started in business about 20 years ago, and doing the exit. So I actually retired from my 9-to-5 traditional job at the age of 27, and thinking that, in starting a business that I can, be able to utilize all my skills and, surpass like the income that I was making on my job and all those great things. Right. So fast forward some years, the first few years, like most small businesses, I was really struggling, trying to get ahead and trying to, get my business off the ground and doing it the traditional way. And so I really was trying to figure out a way to position myself in my business to really make money in business, not only to sustain my lifestyle, but to be able to provide for my family and some, right? And to create a legacy, all those things. And so it was like after years of struggling, I discovered from one Black billionaire that I knew, and I was actually doing some freelance work for, who actually built $1 billion business just selling to the government. He was the actually the first person to actually share with me that the government was buying from small businesses and I can sell to the small business the same thing I was selling to him. And so that was like it was in 2012, I want to say.
Okay.
When I discovered that. And ever since then, this is what I've been doing for over the past 10 years, just selling to the government.
Okay. So when you say selling to the government, what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah. So in business, right, we're all selling something. You're either selling a product or a service. And I was selling services at the time. So I was selling video production, photography, graphic design, and web design services, and business consulting services. And so those things I did not know that the government buys. And so what I learned is that the government buys literally everything, all types of services, including of trucking, and the vast types of expertise in trucking, from administration to hauling, to box truck, there's so many different things that you can actually sell to the government. And it's really like, what I discovered was like, if you can sell it to a person or a business, you can sell it to the government. So they literally are buying it. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's the type of business that you're doing right now. You focus on government contracting, and you were able to build your business up by helping other businesses begin to do business with the government.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow. So what would you say is the most challenging thing that you've had to face, like when dealing with the government?
Well, I would say like in the beginning, like, cause it's a huge landscape to navigate. And so like in the beginning, there's like information everywhere. So if you Google government contracting, you're going to find all types of misdirected different things, like different people say different things about it. So for me, just understanding how it really works, and not only just knowing about it was like the challenge in the beginning, but learning how to get from point A to actually starting landing contracts. And so that was such a challenge for me in the beginning. It took me maybe a couple years to kind of figure it out. But once it clicked, then really I was like, I just repeated the steps and saw that it kept clicking. And I was like, oh, this is the formula, right? Okay. So there's nowhere out there where there's a real formula. Not even the government offers a formula to this is how you do business with me. Information is so disconnected. And so basically that's kind of was like the sorry. My little baby.
Go ahead. No problem.
So so that was like the biggest hurdle for me to overcome in the beginning. But like once I overcame it, it was easy, easy peasy.
Wow. Okay. And so once you figured out that strategy, and started, is that when you decided to start helping others do the same thing that you were doing? So
I've always helped people. Like ever since I was a kid, like I grew up helping people. Like whenever there was a need, I was like, I'll help you. When people needed friends, I'm like, I'll be your friend. Like I was just always been like that type of person to try to be the solution to everybody and everything. And so in business, that's exactly the same thing, that I brought over with me. And so when I actually landed my first contract, which was like 28 days of work for $70,000. And so the first thing I said to myself was, why don't people know about this? And so that was like the first thing. As I was growing and learning, I was actually giving out the information about what I was learning as I was going through it, right? And I used to give it out for free. But yeah, so like that was the thing, is like I wanted to empower and help more minority, especially Black women, learn how to sell to the government, because most of the time in business, like we're busy chasing customers who 9 times out of 10 are not going to buy from us. We're busy trying to figure out how to get startup capital, how to get marketing dollars, all these different things. But on the flip side, when it comes to government contracting, you don't have to spend a single penny on marketing, and the government is already like looking to spend money with you. In fact, under the Small Business Act, they're obligated to spend money with you as a woman-owned business or as a minority business in the small business as well. So just like, instead of chasing customers, here's the customers, they're basically begging you to do business with them.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you mentioned that you've always been the type of person to want to help people. Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. What was growing up like for you?
Oh, I love that question. So, yeah. So like, so I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, of course, in the inner city. And like growing up, like I was a 4th of 7 children to a single family household. So, we lived in lack and scarcity and all those things. But my mom, she worked her fingers to the bone, plus did what I call kitchen table Jerry curls. Okay. That's when like back in the day, all the finger waves and stuff, my mama did that at the kitchen table for people in the community. So she was a hustler on the side and had a job. And so for me, like I always wanted to not have to work so hard to provide for my family and to not have to struggle and live paycheck to paycheck. I wanted to not only dream about being a property owner or landowner, not only just let that be a dream that I never achieved, but be a reality for me. And so for me, in growing up, I always tried not to do what everybody else was doing, right? I didn't go out to clubs. I mean, I did, but I didn't. I stopped very early. I did that when I was like 18. By the time I was 20, it was over for me. I was like, I did go off to college and get a college degree and went on to get a master's degree. So I try to do everything that I didn't drink and smoke, none of those things. Like I try to do everything that that I saw would lead to working a job and being a slave and basically living paycheck to paycheck. And so I try to position myself, for success. And so that's what it was like for me, growing up, trying to figure out how to not follow the same patterns that I saw around me. Yeah.
So 13-year-old Karwanna, were you that type of girl who looked out for the lonely person and was like, let me go be their friend? or,
Exactly. No, I was exactly that person. I was the person where if you didn't have lunch money, I'm going to share my money with you, or we're going to eat lunch together. Or if you didn't have that, if everybody in the school was bullying and picking on you, I'm going to be your friend. That's what I was. Like I've always been open-hearted and compassionate, and my kids are the exact same way. Like literally they would go to school, and if somebody didn't have lunch, they'll share their food. Or if someone was like, nobody really wanted to be their friend and the teachers didn't understand them, they would actually take them under their wing. So they actually are the exact replica of who I am. And it's crazy to see that. But yeah, I was that person with the big heart. I cared about people. And I still do. I'm so compassionate and caring for people. And so much to the fact where like I literally have given clothes out of my closet to people that, that I felt like didn't really have, just I've literally given cars to people that I saw had families and we're on the bus. And I felt like if I have two and I only need one here, let me just give you that. And so I'm a giver, by nature, that's who I am.
I've always found it so fascinating how our younger selves, when we grow up, how we're still like our strengths and our weaknesses, when we were growing up, kind of translate into business and into the things that we're doing now. So I've always find that so fascinating to hear, like, how someone was when they were growing up. When it comes to like starting your business and like being an entrepreneur, what would you say were some of the major differences that you find in being an entrepreneur versus working in working a job?
Okay. Yeah, no, for one, the first thing is you can make a whole lot more money working for yourself than you'll ever make working for somebody.
That is a fact. Okay. That is a fact.
Number two, with a job, you're literally exchanging time for dollars. When you work for yourself, your value equals the dollars, and the time doesn't make any sense. Like literally, like I have had 6-figure days. Working for a job, you will never have a 6-figure day. Like where you know what I mean? Like, and so it's like the difference between night and day. Your whole mindset about money and how it works, and wanting to know how to create assets out of your money, all those things is different when you're working for someone versus having the freedom and having your time back and all those things. And I want to say, like, one of the biggest things that I'm a mompreneur, as you guys can see too.
Yes,
like,
I was gonna say.
like I'm able to do all of these things and still have a very highly profitable business. And one of the things that made me actually walk away from my job is my older children. When I started having kids, when I was working for Uncle Sam, like not Uncle Sam, but when I was working for corporate America, right? And Uncle Sam was taking a lot of my money. Basically, I was missing out on moments like this. Like I was missing out on first words, first walks, first steps, all those things with my kids. And the babysitter would get all that stuff. Right. And then my kids would be attached to the babysitter because they had to go to childcare. Right. And so for me, like, I'm like, no, I want to be able to enjoy those moments. And so I really worked very hard to be in a position to be able to enjoy that moment. And this is like, now it's like, I get to do all this, right? Work for myself and not have to worry about how much time I can take off, to be on maternity leave and whether or not they're going to pay me. I don't have to worry about that stuff. I can make money in my sleep. I can make money while I got my baby on my hip and all those things. So yeah, so it's a totally different industry, like whole different everything is different.
It is really a game changer. And I know I like making that step from working a 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship. I feel like you definitely have to have a certain type of mindset to be able to take that step. What kind of mindset did you have to have in order to have the courage, right? To make that step.
It's scary because and most people are stuck and have become stuck in their jobs because they feel it's job security and they're so used to getting paid routinely every 2 weeks and stuff like that. So it is really a challenge, right? To just say, well, I'm going to leave that. And then now I got me to depend on, right? And so the mindset is like, you have to have a plan. first. You have to have a plan, and you have to be taking action on that plan, right? Because just because you walk away from a job doesn't mean your business is just going to work for you. You have to be willing to go through the valleys and stuff and come up with solutions. And you have to be like quick, because like success loves speed. So you can't be slow. You can't like sleep till 11, 12 o'clock, in the afternoon. You have to be willing to get up as if you work for yourself, or as if your business is a job for you, and still give that same commitment and show up for yourself. And so it takes growth, development, all these different things, because you cannot take an employee mindset into a business, atmosphere and think you're going to succeed with that.
That's so true. So true. Because it's two completely different animals altogether,
Yeah.
So it's like comparing apples to tires. It's not even in
the Absolutely.
So when it comes to like trucking specifically, I know that, I know that there are different opportunities within government contracting for the trucking industry. What are some of the areas where that you find where opportunities are more available?
Yeah. So first there are contracting opportunities for trucking for women specifically too.
Okay.
So if you're selling to the government, of course, the government spends, like the federal government alone spends just in the past year upwards of $10 trillion, of which 26% is set aside specifically for small business concerns. And upwards of 6% of that is specifically only women can touch, right? And that's just on a federal level alone. So that's over $2.6 trillion on the table for small business as a whole. And on the state and local level, there's even more money, included in that. And so when it comes to trucking, the different types of opportunities, you may see things for like hauling, long, like freight, trucking and freight, like long distance freight, short distance freight. There's things for like refrigerator trucking.
Right.
Anything like with construction and like delivering things with trucking, renting out your trucks. Like there's so many different, there's trucking administration, there's logistics, there's so many different services when it comes to trucking that you can position yourself to win contracts with when it comes to government contracting opportunities. And the opportunities are like limitless. Yeah.
Wow. So how would someone who is a woman go about finding these opportunities?
Yeah. So definitely every agency basically have a procurement database on their website where they're posting opportunities. But also like I have a 5-day challenge where I actually show you how to look for those opportunities and see what they're spending and all those things. So if you want to like get pre-qualified and actually walk away qualified to sell to the government, know how much they're spending on your stuff, know what agencies are actually spending and they're looking for you. I would invite you to join the 5-day challenge. It's govconchallenge.com. So that's govconchallenge.com. And in the 5 days, you will know exactly how much money is on the table for you and how to position and market yourself to the government.
Can you walk us through really quick, like what those 5 days would look like? So like day 1, we're going to learn about this. Day 2.
Yeah.
You mind giving us a little bit of that?
So let's see. Let me see. Actually, pull up my notes on that. So, but I can tell you, let me see. I can tell you that in day 1, we actually go through the checklist of business foundation documentation that you will have to have as a business owner in order to sell to the government. Because most people, most small business owners are not as organized or ready to sell to the government as they may think. So there's a list of documentation. So we help you set the right business foundation. That documentation includes things like your articles of incorporation, your operations agreement, things like your bylaws, or if you're a sole proprietorship, like your fictitious business name statement, your EIN. And it's a whole list of things that we help you understand what you need and why you need them. So in day 2, we basically go through unlocking $1 million services. And what I mean by that is we show you how to take your industry or your service that you provide and add additional components to where now you have multiple streams of income within your single business. For example, I can show you exactly how a childcare provider can get paid at least 5 different ways by the government. So typically a childcare provider get paid to watch kids, but when it comes to government contracts and they have contracts for that, you can get paid for the daycare service, the after school care service, for the nutrition services, because you're feeding the kids, for the tutorial service, if you're doing like homework sessions with them, for the mediating services like peer-to-peer counseling, if the kids live in multiple households and there's conflict between the parents and now you're stepping in to mediate, for photography services for those daycares who take pictures of the kids. And so we show you exactly how to unlock those multi-million-dollar streams of services within your business in day 2, right? So that's very powerful.
And most people don't even know. Amazing. I would love to hear like how to unlock the different streams that could come in within the trucking industry, because like, absolutely, there's so many different aspects of trucking.
Exactly. Cool. Absolutely. And then, so day 3, we go through discovering what your thresholds are. Basically, a threshold is how much can you make and still qualify as a small business and participate in these set aside spends. We talk about leveraging your social economic disadvantages. So if you're Black, that's an economic disadvantage. If you're a woman, that's a social economic disadvantage. If you're LGBT, if you're service disabled veteran, all these different things. So we help you identify and show you exactly how to leverage that to get access to even more contracting opportunities, specifically because of those things. And then we show you exactly how much the government is spending on your particular industry and your service codes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we need to tap into that, because that sounds like a wealth of information that otherwise, like you said, like it's real. The information is kind of scattered all over the place when you do like a general search. And so having a professional, someone who is familiar with the ins and outs of government contracting like yourself, it would be a game changer, I feel like, to have someone like you kind of guiding us through and holding our hand to say, look, this is what you look for, this is what the verbiage means, and all of that good stuff.
Exactly.
Yes. Wow. So when it comes to your business as an entrepreneur, what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you?
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, the business, I would say just like one of the biggest challenge that I'm actually growing to like fill some of those gaps is like building capacity, like because your business can grow and take off really fast, and you have to have systems and infrastructure and all these different things that I did not think about on the on the onset, like of having a business. Of course, you're not thinking about systems and processes. You're not thinking about building a team and hiring people to help you with. You're not thinking about a marketing team and an email camp. You're not thinking about all these different pieces, right? But as you grow, then your challenges, and the more money you make, your challenges become different. You have different types of challenges at different revenue levels. And so for me, it was just growing to the point to where I think I started off in business by myself, and I literally thought I can do it all by myself. And I did it all by myself for years. And that limits your capacity to grow. And so for a few years, I was just like here at this capacity, like I couldn't go beyond, but like, as you actually grow and evolve as an entrepreneur, you realize that you do need a team. And the more, and by hiring people, because people think, oh, if I hire them, then I'm going to miss out on money. No, by hiring strategically, you're actually going to make more money. And so those are the challenges that I had to overcome, and the things that I'm still growing and putting people in place to help me even break through new ceilings in my business.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So, as you said before, you are a mompreneur, and we do have your little person there putting their input in.
Exactly.
So how do you balance, right? Because I know it's an ebb and a flow, and I know sometimes balance is, it's kind of, people have different views on that. So I'm curious to hear what your view is.
At some point, I really thought, and I really believed that there was a work and family type of
life balance.
There's no such thing, right? So it's just like you actually get to design the life that you want and you figure it out how you want it. And so for me, when I get up in the morning, just being able to stretch and not jump to checking my email, like for me, like I'm good. Like balance is what you want it to be. Like I feel cool, like working a couple hours during the day and then being able to spend time with my family if I want. Or I also feel cool sometimes just working all day with the kids or whatever. Like, and so there's no such thing as balance. No work-life balance. Nobody will ever have like a work-life balance. It just doesn't work that way, right? Yeah. But it's just like you just have to figure out what works for your individual self to where you feel not overwhelmed, and then you feel like you're like you have time over here and over there, whatever that may look like. Like for me. So now I purposely take days off. It's so easy as an entrepreneur to just work, especially if you love what you do, work around the clock, 7 days a week around the clock. So I know a lot of y'all, it's like, yeah, you're right, right?
Sometimes you be up and you look at the clock like 5 o'clock. Wait a minute, I didn't even go to bed. Yes, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly. So it's just like, you have to be intentional. Like, what do you want to, like, how do you want your life to be? What is it? What does happiness look like for you? What does success look like for you? And if that's sitting on a beach, over in the Bahamas or whatever, once a year, then that's your balance because you're doing what you want to do. Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there because when you think about balance, it's like you're literally, it's either you're going this way or you're going that way. Exactly. And when if someone is on a tightrope, like there's no real balance, right? So, and then I find that definitely when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's either you are focused on your business and then you take a break and then you can focus on your family, just like you said. You can't focus on your business and on your family at the same time, at the same moment, right? Because that doesn't work, and so definitely putting those, like, or structuring your day or structuring your week or structuring your time generally to say, you know what, on Wednesdays is my day to just focus on this aspect of my business. And on Saturdays are off limits, or Sundays or whatever it is, it's just for families. Because then so that way,
and you have to be intentional because, it's one thing to put it on calendar and just be looking at it. Because there's a lot of things that I put on calendar and they pop up and I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm not doing it. Right. So it's just like, you have to literally force yourself to be intentional.
That's real talk. That is so true. And it comes with discipline too, because sometimes the discipline of getting up early or even going to bed early or getting enough rest and, taking care of yourself and all of these different things as women who are in charge of the household and we're running a business and we got the kids to think about and all of these things that we're juggling, it can get very tricky when it comes to even taking care of ourselves. What are some of the things that you do, like to just get like a mental reset or like a, take a deep breath for yourself?
So I'm more of a like I love bubble baths and I'll like put on, like, I love music from the 80s and the 90s. And so I'll just like play like my favorite slow jams or New Edition or whatever while I'm in a candlelight bath. Like those types of things, it just kind of helps me to reset. But also I love getting up and meditating. I love meditation music because it helps set, get your vibrations up and stuff like that. And I love waking up like with positive messaging, because it kind of sets the tone for the day. Maybe drink some tea or eat a little bit of breakfast or whatever, and just kind of eliminate the chaos. Like if you wake up and the first thing you watch on the news is the news and there's just nothing but chaos, so now in your spirit you're like, your energy is like this. It's a whole bunch of chaos happening. Your day is out of control, all that stuff. So it's like, you really have to be intentional about finding your balance. And for me, that's how I find my balance. And then I like to take trips, at least once a year to get away and go somewhere. And so that's really, that really kind of helps me to, just like, oh, it's my reset time. And I love reading too.
And I realized like, when you take that time for yourself, you
Mhm.
come back better and you're able to focus more and
Yeah,
be more intentional. Like you literally feel more like
yeah,
yourself, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
It's so easy to get bombarded and
yeah,
just absorbed in the
yeah,
business and in
yeah,
everything else that you have to think
mhm,
about and
yeah,
forget that, look, I'm an individual too, and I need to take
yeah,
some time for myself
yeah,
also,
yeah.
you know?
You have to take care of yourself, because like, if you like, as a business owner, there's a million different things that you can be doing every single day, right? And and sometimes we do try to do it all.
We do.
And then you realize there's still a million things that's left over. So when you understand like prioritizing,
Mm-hmm.
and some things can wait, some things you can delegate, like that all comes with growth and development and
Yeah.
evolving, from a business owner and entrepreneur to being actually a boss and a CEO and all those
Yes.
things, right? There's levels to the game, right? And
Absolutely.
so, and so, yeah. So for certain, if you're not taking care of you, what happens when you crash? Then the
Right.
business is going like you. It's going to be there for things are going to pile up, because now
Mhm.
you're in a hospital bed because you didn't crash yourself. So it's
Right.
like, so
Right.
you got to take the time. You have to really plan out, what your life is going to be like, what is your day going to be like, and it could be like, trust me, if you're like in your 40s, you have 40 years of bad habits that you've built, that you
Mm-hmm.
have to reprogram yourself to learn how to plan. On Mondays, this is my reading day, or on Fridays, I'm just going to talk to clients only, or, however you're going to do it.
Right.
It's hard, but you have to do it,
It's important.
so that you can have your peace of mind. And just by not doing all the million things, you're not failing in business. And it doesn't really affect your bottom line. You know what I mean? So you
Mm-hmm.
just have to prioritize by what's going to make me money today. Like, what is the
Mm-hmm.
money making activity that I can do today at
Mm.
minimum that's going to keep my revenues growing? Everything else is like secondary.
Right. 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 What would you say are three things that someone who is might be thinking about getting into the trucking industry, or thinking about the government contracting aspect of it? What would you say are 3 to 5 things that they would need to like do today, like those activities that you're talking about, to say, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z in order to be on the road or to get in the process of going in this direction?
Yeah. So one of the biggest hurdles or biggest challenges that I see, or mistakes really, that I see small business owners make, whether they're getting into the trucking industry, or thinking about starting a business, or thinking about getting started with government contracting,
Mm-hmm.
is not investing in themselves. And this,
Mm.
and I can speak to that, specifically because I used to be there. When I was the type of person where, if it's going to cost me, I'd rather do it myself, right? I was that type of person. I don't care if
Mm-hmm.
it costs $20 a month. I'm going to just manually do it. That's how I was.
Right.
And that type of mindset, and that action and that thought actually kept me broke. Those are the thoughts of a broke person, because you don't
Isn't that so
understand.
ironic? That is
Yeah,
so ironic.
because you don't know, like, it's like, by investing in yourself, you're saving time, you're gaining knowledge of someone else who's already done it, so you don't have to try to figure it out, but you also gain the result faster than you would have
Mm.
if you did not invest in yourself, whether it's a tool, right? Because they have email CRMs and all these different things that I didn't even invest in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm,
But I
mm-hmm.
did not know that same tool that I was saying, I don't want to invest as little as $20 a month, I didn't want to invest in, that same tool I can actually use and leverage now and print millions of dollars on an annual basis. So it's like we self-sabotage ourselves by not knowing the power of investing. And I would say one of the top of the three things is to really invest in yourself. Like,
Okay.
don't be, especially when it's something that's going to position you to make money, right?
Mm.
Those types of investment you never lose, but most people self-sabotage themselves. So investing in yourself is so very key.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is thinking outside the box. for instance, when it comes to government contracting, I always say this. So there's quite a few people that I knew who had like t-shirt brands, right? And I'm like, well, you can actually land $1 million contracts for t-shirts, right? But they want to stay stuck to the Boo Boo Kitty brand versus just selling t-shirts to the government, right? You can sell Boo Boo Kitty to the individual person, but the government is also buying t-shirts. So it's like, you have to really be open-minded and knowing how to position yourself properly to sell to the government. Like there's a million different things that that you can sell to the government when it comes to trucking, but you also have to be open-minded. Trucking, that could be logistics. It could be, selling a box truck. It could be, delivering things. It could be anything. So just because you do logistics don't mean you can't do trucking and hauling, because there's another company who actually does the hauling service that you can partner with. And so you have to be just open-minded. So, and the third thing is just like never giving up. Some people give up because it has not worked, or hasn't worked over years, or you tried a bunch of different things, or you tried something and it didn't work, and now you're blaming the who you tried it with, all that stuff. Like you can never give up on your hopes and dreams, never give up on your business, because at that moment when you're like, that's it, I give up, the next thing for you was your breakthrough, right? So it's like you actually abort your success when you give up prematurely.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That was a word. That was a word, because it's so true though, because you get frustrated, like you said, and you just like, yo, this is not for me anymore. And it's funny because I was speaking with a friend yesterday, and she was saying that she decided to not go forward. She has a business that with products, and it didn't seem as if anything was getting off the ground. And she said she stopped for a while, but she said when she stopped, she realized, like, she was getting up in the morning, like, okay, it's like she almost lost her sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes the thing that we're doing is tied into our purpose. And so we have to make sure that we're not aborting our purpose and our destiny because of frustration, or basically making how does the saying go? Making a permanent decision in a temporary situation.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So it's like how do you keep so when you find yourself in that situation, or if there is someone in that situation now, like what words of advice would you have for them if like they're just like, look, I can't do this anymore? Like,
yeah. So like that's a really good question too. So like I was there at the crossroad. So it's a crossroad between, do I keep doing this, or do I just let it go? Right. And so I remember when I was struggling in business, wasn't really making money, couldn't afford to pay my bills, and I'm on the fence, like I'm gonna have to go get a job, right? So it's like I had the decision, like, do I play the safety zone and go get a job and assume that's financial security, or do I stay here and just work it out, since I put in so much time and effort? Do I just stay here? And so I chose to stay there. And had I given up, right, I'll be working for someone, probably, living paycheck to paycheck or whatever. My circumstance would never have changed. But because I stayed the race, now I'm in a whole nother position, a whole nother tax bracket, a whole nother, just building legacies, doing things that I never thought was possible for myself. And so I would say, if you're in a position to where like you have a decision to make, just know that fear, of course, is the false evidence, appearing real, but also you have the choice. You either gonna do it or you're not, right? So, and that is where your faith kicks in. Cause I'm like, I'm faith driven, right? Just like, if God,
I don't know how people live without it.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you have to have that faith. And so you have, and faith is energy. So you have the ability to focus your energy on the negative, all the things that didn't work, all the reasons why you should quit, all those things, or you have the ability to equally focus your energy on all the positive, right? What your purpose is and why you were called to do this and what's going to happen when you make it and all those different things. So it's like, it's really up to you. It's like, the thing about life is like, we have the freedom to make decisions, and your decision is going to bring about a reaction, right? And so you can decide to go for the negative or for the positive. You can decide that you're going to win. If you decide that you're going to win, then you can't quit.
Right.
You can't quit. You have to stand on that you're going to win. And trust me, if you're doing the work to win, you will win.
Point blank, period.
Point blank clear. Ain't no other way. Ain't no other way about it. It's like it either is or ain't. That's it.
Yeah. And definitely standing that ground, like you literally in that place of frustration, in that place of insecurity, sometimes in that place of difficulty, just like making the decision to go forward and to, you know what, I'm sticking with this. Because the other options are not really an option. Go back to what with a job? Go back to getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, driving 2 hours in traffic, driving around for an hour, trying to find parking. It's like when you weigh the two things and when you really look at it, it's like either you're missing out on time and money. So it's like just making that investment in yourself, like you said. I think that's what it goes back to, really. And absolutely. Then to remembering what your why is, remembering why am I doing this, and why is this important for me to keep going, because honestly, when you're in those moments of frustration and you're down on yourself and things are not working, or, a client may have canceled or an order or whatever it is, it's so easy to just lose sight of why or where's this really going, especially if you have people around you who are not very encouraging. So what kind of environments have you had to place yourself in? Because environments are extremely important. For entrepreneurs. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be around other entrepreneurs that are talking the way how you're talking and believing what you're believing and stuff like that.
So you have to surround yourself with like-minded people, positive people who are where you want to go, or people who are on the same path or journey, right? Of where you're going, because they understand where you are. They understand, they understand what that journey looks like. And you can have those type of conversations versus someone who's in a whole nother world, on a whole nother level. They're talking about what just happened at the Oscars. They're not talking about how we gonna make this money or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a totally different conversation. So it's like, and those conversations are cool too, but it's like, but you definitely want to be in a community of like-minded individuals, because it helps you stay on your toes. And you're not alone. Like you don't feel like you're alone. And it kind of reminds you of what you're supposed to be doing. And it reminds you of your purpose and your calling, as opposed to, being drawn and away from your calling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you had to leave a word with the audience and everyone that's listening, as far as just with everything that we've discussed so far, between government contracting, entrepreneurship, motherhood, balance, what can you leave a word with us today?
So I would say that for all of the CEOs and women in business, whether you're in trucking or whatever type of business that you aspire to have, or maybe you have, just know that you were designed for a greater purpose, and your business is not just for you to pay bills. Your business is for you to be able to create impact, but also so that you can be a role model, for you to be, build a legacy and all those different things. And so knowing that your purpose is so great, you can never give up. And I want to encourage you to never give up. But also, I also want to say that if you are looking for a way to tremendously grow your business so that you can have the revenues and the capital to be able to impact the world globally, to become a philanthropist, just know that the government is the number one biggest paying customer you could ever acquire. And they're looking for you. They're actually practically begging and throwing money out the window for more women and for more minorities to actually do business with them. And so get pre-qualified. I would say at least come through the challenge challenge. It's govconchallenge.com. I'll show you. And this is where I help people actually craft out what that can look like for them, so that they know exactly what they're walking into, so that you're not walking in blind, asking questions or trying to Google the questions to get the answer and you're still confused, right? So at least through the challenge, you know exactly what the government is buying, how they're buying it, how much they're spending on it, who they're selling it, who they're buying it with, all those things. So you know where you can get in, where you fit in, right?
Exactly.
So yes.
And it doesn't, and what I love about it is that it's trucking and any other business or service that you have.
Yeah.
Because there are some, like I always say, like, I feel like there are so many other businesses and services that could, be developed to serve the trucking industry, because it's such a vast industry.
Exactly.
And there's so many needs, and knowing that the government is out there looking for us, I mean, it's something that we should definitely tap into. So if someone wanted to work with you specifically, how would they be able to get in touch with you, aside from the challenge? I know the challenge is coming up, but aside from that, if someone wanted to work with you.
So you can go to my site, it's karwannadSpeaks.com. So karwannadspeaks.com. So if you wanted to work with me as a consultant, or if you wanted to have me on your other, your podcast, or do a speaking engagement, like for your group or whatever, that is the best place to reach me.
Okay, one more time.
KarwannaDSpeaks.com.
Okay.
And you can find me on Instagram under Karwanna D Speaks, or Facebook under Karwanna D Speaks.
Okay, awesome. Karwanna, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I mean, this has really been extremely engaging and informative, and I'm looking forward to the challenge. Is there like a registration or like a wait list or something that?
So right now, the next challenge is coming up in a few weeks. And so there is a registration. So if you go to the website, it'll tell you the date, it'll tell you to go ahead and get registered. And so let's do it.
Awesome.
And you can become an affiliate. And share it. So I'll send all that information over, so that you can empower other women to, become pre-qualified through the challenge.
That would be amazing. Karwanna, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having you. And everyone, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Lady Trucking CEO podcast. And we'll see you next time. All right. Take care.